Hello, traders. Thanks for joining me today on this Trader Bite. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Friday. Happy Friday, all. November 20th, 2020. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Hopefully, you're hearing me nice and clear. Let me double check. Headset. And looks like I'm coming off of the right headset. Cool. This is episode number 1884. Risk on sentiment today across the board. Although it's there was a lot of risk off on the news from Secretary of the Treasury Mnuchin after the close yesterday, pulling the remaining money that was there for stimulus for business from the Fed, and the market dropped from approximately 82, 83 back down to about 60, 35, 60 in the S&Ps. And since then, it dropped even further, but we've recovered since then. So even though against yesterday's close, the indices are off, they actually have a bullish tilt this morning, given the action overnight. So I would say the overall sentiment is mixed so far. Gold leading the pack. Gold trading at 1871.70, up $10.20 or 0.55%. The bonds are up 22 ticks again, just same as yesterday. Euro stocks up 6 points. DAX is up 19 and a half. The Bund is up 23 ticks. So you have the equities and the Bund up at the same time, along with the bonds and the 10 years. The Russell is the laggard today, down 6.7 points or 0.38%. The Dow is off 73 points. So I would say mixed-ish uh, uh, allocation today in terms of risk by investors. So that's where we stand. Um, Let's take a look at the calendar. Actually, what's likely to be driving the market today? Not that it matters for us short-term traders, but it says Mnuchin pulls plug on some pandemic lending programs that Fed considers essential. Pfizer applies for U.S. emergency use of COVID-19 vaccine. WHO advises against Gilead's remdesivir for all hospitalized COVID-19 patients. And then futures track the S&P 500 and the Dow dipped as rising coronavirus cases and fading stimulus hopes threatened to further hamper economic recovery. European shares were higher, supported by gains in commodity and retail stocks. Asian equities ended on a mixed note. The dollar edged up against a basket of currencies, with a spot gold while the spot gold was slightly lower. Oil prices gained. This comes from uh, Refinitiv by Reuters. So that's where we stand in terms of the calendar. Really light calendar today. We got retail sales out of Great Britain, PPI from Germany, and some Canadian numbers for housing, retail sales, consumer confidence at 10 o'clock out of the Eurozone. That's pretty much it. So, and I know Mnuchin is on now and is walking a lot of things back. A copy of the letter that he sent to the Fed was disseminated yesterday, and it looks like they're just pulling the plug a little bit, but who knows? This is what we expected yesterday in our review segment. Um, Yesterday, the primary idea was for a push higher, a push higher. What is that? What? Tiago Zunu, $9.99. Is that money you're sending to me or something? I don't get that. If so, appreciated, but I didn't turn this on. Uh, eh, I appreciate that. Um, Not sure what has changed here. Um, Primary scenario was for a push towards the overnight high and then a squeeze down that gives us an impulse down that did not quite play on. Um, that did not quite play out, but what did play out is the other idea, which was scenario two, a pullback down into the 47-ish area, the 47-ish area with an impulse higher with the goal of 81.82. That was the secondary scenario. So we have an impulse up, consolidate back at the overnight point of control, squeeze through the overnight high, and then reach the 81 area, the single prints above, well, actually the 81 area, which was last week's close. So that's where that stands. No, Tiago's been here quite a while. I don't think this is spam. This is something I received a change of terms from YouTube, I think 2 days ago, something about changing something about these channels and broadcasts. I don't know, but maybe that's what that is. I also have others tinkering in my channel as well. Anyway, so here's what it did. It pushed a 42 and a quarter. Remember, yesterday's play was down to 41 and a half, 47, 41 and a half. It pushed to 42 down here in what was a bit of a drive test, an open test down, quick test down, and a drive up. Um, the ES ended up taking out the ES ended up taking out the overnight low by one tick before it turned back up and pushed back into the range. A very deep pullback. This was kind of troubling here. Took a loss on this, and then it extended the IB high, consolidates in the middle here against the prior day's low, and then pushes all the way up to 81.50. 81.50, which was the intended target, the key target yesterday, the prior week's close, or Friday's close, at 81, 81 and a quarter. So that's where that stands. We ended up consolidating at the high, creating a double distribution. So what we have is two boxes yesterday, two kind of longer term zippers. One is down here. Um, One is down here, and one is up top near in between the 70 and the 70 and up to the 82.50. These are the two kind of acceptance area. So we ended up with a double distribution profile breaking to the top side, not neutral. And then, of course, that was taken back at the close. We did not shift the point of control to the high, but we do have a weak high, and the expectation is a push higher. Don't let this distract you. I don't know what these stickers are. I really appreciate whoever contributed. I wish I knew how to link my charity to this as opposed to me. I'll look into shutting that off, but I appreciate you doing that. In any case, we have a very clear low volume node and single print from yesterday at 35.6875. There's a stock zone there. This area here is quite important for this morning. We're currently trading at 35.74 right in here in the upper distribution. And that's where we stand. Look at the action yesterday, a push higher on pretty good delta. So now we have delta moving with price, and it's a pretty solid delta into the close here. The expectation is it's likely to continue higher and take back the sell-off from Wednesday. That's what I was looking for. But then Mnuchin came along and threw a bomb in it. And so immediately after the close, it dropped 20 points and then continued It dropped basically to yesterday's point of control, and then it continued lower to value low, consolidated, and then has been pushing higher throughout the overnight session. We're trading above VWAP mid, and we have basically stopped just a tick short of yesterday's high. And so that's where this stands so far. 82.50 versus 82.75. So the overnight session is one tick short of the overnight high. This looks bullish to me, and we are, if you look at the overnight, the extended trading hours profile, the double distribution with the single print in the middle, it is basically a carbon copy of yesterday's profile, except the point of control is at the upper end of the range. This morning, we have a lot of energy pent up here. We are likely to move quickly out of this area. And so that's where that stands. That's where that stands currently. So we have very clear structure to trade off of today. Okay, so that's the review. The overall volume overnight's been relatively solid, pretty consistent. We expect around 190,000 or so. We're getting 227,000. It's pretty good volume, and I expect that some of this, the sell-off from Wednesday will likely be taken back, and if it does, then this is likely to push us back into. Remember, we tested the 35.57 we talked about earlier in the week, and now we're moving ourselves back up to the upper distribution So this is that 3608 area up here. Remember, we're trading at 76 yesterday, 82. We are likely to push back up to this upper distribution point of control. Let's draw that on here, huh? So if we take last week's action and this week's action, the MCV is down at 57, but the secondary high volume node, there's a low volume node here at 85. The secondary high volume node is 3608, and that would be the key target above. So as you could see yesterday, good delta, good delta on the way up. As price went lower, delta held steady, starting to turn up. There was a lot of defense, and I saw it in the tape yesterday where, as soon as it just sells off, there's volume that's coming in and lifting. So this is important to note where we are. We have an inside week this week. My throat keeps drying out, so I keep having to take breaks here. 1 second. Just downing some water. We have an inside week this week, and remember, we've been one-time framing up on the weekly, one-time framing down on the daily, including today, and we may break that one-time framing today by taking out yesterday's high at 82.75. So 82.75 is important this morning. We did get to 82.50, and that may end the one-time framing. If it does, then we are likely to start to squeeze towards 3,600 with a target of 3608. Don't know if we'll get there today. It's about 30 points away, well within range. Currently, we're doing close to close, about 45 points close to close on a daily basis is what's inside of what we would call normal or the first standard deviation. So again, higher lows in whatever time frame you're looking is one time framing up. It's a description of trend. Trend for most people is a description of higher lows for a trend up and higher highs, right? So higher highs up here. And that's not really how it works in the auction. The auction cares about if a trend is continuing up, then this price the market should not be coming back to this price. So we only look at the lows, and the opposite for a trend down. We're looking for lower highs only, right? So here, if you look at what we've done on the daily, we've had higher low, higher low. So the trend up is on the daily time frame, trend up on the weekly time frame. These black boxes are weeklies, and then that ended with this day on Tuesday, and then lower highs were initiated. So one time framing down was initiated on Wednesday and continued yesterday, and now we're about to take out that lower high, ending the one time framing down, which puts us in alignment with the weekly. And so when we go into alignment with the longer time frame, we expect we expect a lot of participation there. We expect some sustained pushes in that direction. I'm going to take a quick break here. Since it is the third Friday of the month, it's options expiration Friday, and I'm going to ask you all to just type in what city, state if applicable, state, province, canton, whatever it is you live in, city, state, country, or just city and country if it's a major city. Just type it into the chat box. If you're on Periscope, please type it into the chat. And if you're not logged into Periscope and just watching, please just you can hit me up at twitter.com/futurestrader71. The goal of doing this once a month, I think I'm going to start doing it twice a month, but for now, on expiration Fridays, the goal of doing this is to help people see who's around them. A lot of people watch the Trader Bite after the session is no longer live. It gets about 2,200 views a day between Periscope and YouTube. But I'd love to connect all 2,200 people and get traders together as much as possible. Virtually, of course, I wouldn't recommend face to face, but be sure to type in and just scroll through and see who's around you. Maybe it's a name you recognize. It may be a next door neighbor that you didn't know traded. Who knows? But I would like you to kind of type in what you've got. I'm, of course, in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States, the home of futures. So let's move on and look at what's expected for today. Don't forget to type in where you're at. We want to know where you're at. You're not giving up a lot of private information this way. Okay, so what are we looking for today in our planning segment? Where are we here? Current screen. There we go. Couldn't find it. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a market that has very well defined structure below. Again, this 68.50 area, 68 even area. We have the point of control down here in the 35.57. Yesterday's point of control, if you recall, is 35.58.50. 35.57 is the MC point of control in the area. We have we have the 81 close from last week. We have the 87 above there. There's a lot going on in this area. Actually, I'm zoomed in. I'm zoomed out too far here. Let's zoom in a little bit. So here's what I'm expecting for today. The expectation is an open auction at the overnight point of control in the upper distribution of yesterday's range. We're holding the upper distribution. I'm expecting the market to become a little bit responsive here, not by much. And then I'm looking for an impulse higher. I'm looking for it to push the 82.50 high and start squeezing through the 84, which was the launching point here from Friday's sell-off. Single prints at 87 quarter, so I expect it to consolidate here at the 87 quarter and then eventually squeeze up into the 96 area. Remember, the 90 was a gap low, 96 was the gap high. Expecting it to push into the 96 area. So here's 96. We have the century figure, the double O's here. We have the 84 area and the single prints up here. These are all areas I'm expecting some hesitation at. So I'm looking for it to dip down into 71-ish. Expect it to hold the low volume node from yesterday in between the two distributions, and I'm looking for a push up. Pretty much everything I'm seeing is supporting a push up. I know the overnight stance is mixed to risk off, but that could change very much. Coming into the weekend gives us a big caveat, of course, who's going to want to put on more risk into the weekend. But the current pricing is such that we see that we've tested and rejected the 57, 35, 57 MC point of control. We've pushed as far as almost the 41, which is a swing high of October 12th, and held. So the expectation is the market is likely to test the other side, to check the other side, and that's what I'm looking for on this end. So an open auction, the secondary is an open auction that squeezes higher, continues to play, gets into the 84, gets into the single print, consolidates here, and then finally flushes through. We get the impulse down back into the overnight point of control, and then we start to squeeze down into the 68.75 single prints and start to push into the prior day's lower distribution. I don't expect it to hold here. I expect buyers to come back in and finish it a little bit higher. In either case, looking for the one-time framing the down on the daily to end. I'm looking for a higher high, higher low for the session today to kind of kick us off next week into running higher, barring news. So that's what we're looking at for today. 6 minutes to the open. I know this was a long one, but we're moving from one segment right here, from one segment where we were to another segment of balance. So this is what we're looking for, and the target for balance, if the ES does push, the target is 08, 3608. This becomes the big magnet up top. That is where balance is. This is where I expect it to go, 3608. Okay. Good luck today, and thanks for typing in where you are, and hopefully you'll find someone near you. Good luck, and I'll catch you on Monday morning. Don't forget, next week is Thanksgiving week. Uh, we'll only be operating Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday's a half day, and Friday's a half day for Thanksgiving here in the U.S. So next week may be a very slow week, and you never short a dull market, right? It's likely to be a pretty quiet week with light volumes as people take off and enjoy an entire week off. Actually, what is it, 8 days or 9 days off at the cost of 3 days of work. So next week is likely to be pretty quiet. But I'll be here for the first 3 days. I'll be doing a trader bite, and then I'm off Thursday and Friday. Good luck.